Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Conversations. And I have Kurt in the house today, and I'm so excited to have you here, Kurt. Thank you so very much. Let's get right into it. Tell me a little bit about you, your business, and how you help others.
Yeah, thank you for having me today and bringing me into your audience. My name is Kurt Uhlir. I'm an operating executive, chief marketing officer typically for venture-backed and private equity-backed companies. I started though way years beforehand. I had to form two LLCs because I was so successful when I was 14. But came up through there and quickly after graduating went into big corporate world, public companies, took a company public, sold it later for was part of the team that took that public and then sold it for 8.1 billion, but took the playbooks that we rolled out to more than 100 countries there, redefining how marketing was done and demand generation, and brought that into smaller companies. And I spent a large amount of my time actually, especially my personal time, with an organization called CEO NetWeavers, which is a group of pay it forward senior executives at mid-market companies that literally have this concept that says, rather than networking the way most people do, and you do this naturally, is they use the term net weaving. And so it's a pay it forward approach for networking and realizing that I may be able to take 15 minutes and do a really good introduction for two people or broker that conversation, and it could fundamentally change somebody else's life. And most people would just let a lot of those drop to the floor. But we do that, and I try to do that stewarding my time because others have done that for me.
That's awesome. So, what would you consider your first priority thing about helping others? What is it that you do priority to help others?
Two things I'd say, and that the first thing is I'm innately curious about what people are needing. That's often not what they say that they need. They may say they're looking for customers, or they may say they're looking for an executive coach, or they're looking for speaking opportunities. What they often need is something below there. And some cases, it could be something personal, like they're just looking for validation. But I'm going to ask questions, kind of see what's going on with them, not just in work, but also outside of work, because as whole people, like those two things go innately together. And the reason I'm so curious about that is one, I'm wanting to know who they are, but I use systems, I use personal CRMs, which I think we may talk a little bit more about. And I'm wanting to make sure that I can get that information that would capture who you are that's different than the other people I've met that are in that same role, so that I could, in the next 6 months, the next 6 years, the next 60 years, make better introductions, not just for you, but others that I come in contact with back to you as well.
That's awesome. It's all about connecting with the right people at the right time for yourself and your business. Back in the day, we always heard you have to separate business from family. It has to keep separate. Well, we have found in today's world, and I teach this as a coach, it all goes together. If you're not doing good at home, you're probably not doing good at the office either. It's just the way it is. It's bundled together. It's one big round ball of fun with a big pink ribbon on the top of it, is what I tell people. Connections are key. And I love what you said about, my words, is it's not all about who they are or what they need. It's who do they know that
Right.
may also need you as well. And I go into conversations all the time, and people will tell me, "Oh, I need more sales." Well, come to find out, they need more sales because they need more connections.
Right.
So I love how you said that. And you have a system in place that helps you track these things. And you call that the CRM. Can you tell us a little bit more? Some people doesn't know what a CRM is or what it can do for you.
Right. Well, or most people I find that they think about CRMs or customer relationship management software. They think in terms of Salesforce or Pipedrive, and they're thinking in terms of things that have pipelines. And so they may use that for their general contracting business or their software as a service business. And in those you can do that, but I find the biggest problem that I have is people try taking the sales concept of a CRM and they bring that into their networking. And so a lot of people will use Google Sheets for this or Excel. You find I find people have more than maybe 500 connections. That doesn't jump out to them as what to do with there because how do you follow up with people at that? And so there's only a couple truly personal CRMs out there. I use one that I prefer called Dex, partially because they built a lot of features that I've asked for over the years because I send so many people to them. But there's others that are out there, but there's no concept of a pipeline. And I say pipeline for people that are out there. It's literally just a platform that does allow me to enter in everyone's contact information. I can connect in most all of the personal CRMs with iMessage or your Android message, Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn Messenger, all of my emails, all of my calendars. So any interactions I have with people get synced to this. That I need that effortless for me because I have so many contacts that I come in contact with. And so I can go through in there when I meet somebody and say, hey, I want to stay in touch with this person every 3 months or every 6 months. And if we have a text message or you reach out on LinkedIn, it knows that that happens and just resets that clock. So it's not going to remind me just every 6 months. It's going to remind me 6 months from when you and I last connected. And so that CRM, it is that concept of taking what people typically use for sales. But the reason I find you cannot use like a HubSpot or Salesforce or these others for it, even though they have price points that work for individuals, is they're all built around the concept of a sale. And so still use one of those sales CRMs for my speaking opportunities, but that's a different type than one of my network where I just want to stay in touch with people. And so those personal CRMs, you can do it to some degree with a Google Sheet, but I think you really have to have something to buy it, like a personal CRM that's dedicated to it. And the way I talk about it, like it is literally the cheap or the best $149 I spend a year out of anything on my business.
That's awesome. And I really want to dive deep into the CRM because so many people are using it incorrectly or not enough.
Right.
A lot of people think that a CRM is you capture their name and their emails, and that's the way you email them, and then it stops there.
Right.
So I know that there's so much more. I mean, I even keep up with people's birthdays on there
Yeah.
because I want to send them a birthday card. I try to keep all of their addresses in there because I like to mail them things depending on what's going on. If if I'm having an event and you're speaking at my event, I send out speaker boxes and I have their address right there and then. I don't have to ask for it again. I try to keep up with all the information that I think I may need in the next several years. So, can you talk to me a little bit more about why it's so important to capture this information, to do more?
Yeah, great question. And so for me, I'll start with people may hear this and like, oh, I don't have time to capture all this. So some of the note-taking apps are very helpful for that. I'd also say I do not capture as much information for everyone as I do for some. And so there's kind of different levels of things. And also, I'll keep in mind, I capture information as I come to it, and I don't necessarily go back and backfill. I mean, I have thousands of contacts in my CRM that I've never touched, and I will never get to quote inbox zero for having everybody on some follow-up schedule. So when I first meet people, I'm going to capture as much as I can, especially personal details, because those do help on introductions later on. And you don't know now, there's no way I'm going to know what piece of information I necessarily will need in 5 years when I do that introduction. But looking back, I know what's helped me make some of the best connections. Like I have a salesperson in my network that I stay in pretty close contact with named Barry's in the Northeast. Barry Bear is great at sales, but I wouldn't introduce him to just everyone. One of the things I know about him was he was a high school and college wrestler, and still, while he's much further along, and he's very farther along in his career, he stewards a huge bit of his time coaching high potential wrestlers now. Well, that's really important for me for two reasons. One, when I hire people, I prefer to hire the addicts, healthy addicts. And so maybe somebody who truly was like a negative addict, but somebody like you're addicted to quilting, you're so into making roses or wrestling or running or something like that. Because if you're so focused on that and to be successful, you're probably the type of personality that's going to get along very well with me. Well, Barry Bear matches that. And so if I'm going to do an introduction for him later, and I know that I'm connecting him to somebody else with that same type of personality or former athlete, I want to make sure I draw that together in the connection. And so I captured that as a piece of information when I first met him. The other things I kind of go is like, yeah, I want to capture both what people are doing with their job now, but what they would like to do, what they think they're good at, and what other people have told them, gosh, this is effortless for you. And they don't realize that like that's their superpower yet. And so that's often what I want to capture because that helps me then look for, hey, when somebody else in the future says that they have an issue, I can go to Dex and I can type it in, or somebody can use whatever CRM, and I could type wrestling, and Barry Bear in that example is going to come up. Or I could type something else. Like I have a small number of truly great AI forward content editors right now, like for enterprise level companies. Well, I can go type in AI editor and I will get the 4 or 5 people that I know that are really good at that. Well, now I don't have to keep it all up in here. And so I'm going to capture as much as I can for things that are unique. I mean, I'm not going to capture everything. And then to your point, birthdays are always great, but I look for things that are kind of unique. Like birthdays, people do reach out, and if I know that, I'm going to capture that. Thankfully, it'll suck that in from LinkedIn if it has it. But I will capture things like when was your daughter born? So, like, I have a 4-year-old. Well, on her first birthday, second birthday, and third birthday, she's 4 now. And but at first, like 3 people in my network all send me messages. 2 of them were video messages, not about work. That means they captured something because they also knew that's been impactful to you, but nobody else is going to necessarily follow up. And this last year, I only got one person reach out. So I don't know if it just dropped off or what, but still, that's a unique thing that you might choose to capture. And you can then choose whether or not you use that as a reach out event or not.
Absolutely. And it goes back to when you said that is they have to like you, they have to know you, they have to trust you. These 3 or 4 people, they became to know you, but they also liked you enough to capture that information.
Mhm.
You know, there is one lady in particular I know every year for my birthday, I get a birthday card, a real card, a paper
Mhm.
card in my mailbox every year. And it falls very close to my birthday on December 26th. So she remembers that even though we have all the other holidays cram packed in there, do you think she really just remembers it in her head?
Right.
No, she has a system. She has some kind of system that says, hey, LaDonna's birthday is coming up. Let's get a card ready for her. But you're right. There's some things that I have in there, graduation,
Mhm.
anniversaries, things that I want people to know, hey, I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm
Right.
not asking you to attend anything. I just want to say hello.
Right. Yeah.
So
And so the important thing for people to is you need to have a system, and head is not a system. And at some point, a Google Sheet is not a system because it's not going to give you those reminders for sure. And you do want something that's going to suck in so much of this information automatically, especially the interactions. But you don't have to capture the same level of information for everybody. And just because you capture it doesn't mean you actually have to do anything. It doesn't need to be a commitment in your head that you're always going to follow up. But if you haven't captured it, you do not have the opportunity to. And so that's one of the things that I like about being able to go and kind of set tiers for, do I follow up with this person every 3 months or every 6 months or every year, is because I capture some of those things. In some cases, they're even about their business. Like if I have a lot of friends because of what I've done that have sold their companies to private equity and exited. I will capture those dates. And so when it pops up and says, hey, you haven't followed up with Jim in 6 months, if I look and see that date's coming up, I'll go ahead and just either I'll rechange the reminder to follow up then. And so you can choose to use those to follow up as you want to. And your point, like we are, like both work and personal, like those are intertwined. I mean, anybody that's ever had people that are on their team and their personal life's gone sideways, you realize really quickly like that affects somebody's work efficiency. And it's like I also know the people that I'm going to reach out to, they believe that as well. And so in the end, if you follow up with people, will it lead to more business? I believe it will, but that's not why I'm reaching out to people. Especially, the way to do networking properly, or the term net weaving, you have to anticipate that you will never get a ROI from reaching out to the people in your network. In the end, it will keep you top of mind, and you'll become trusted for them. And for instance, my business has gone from marketing and leadership development for corporate clients to now I've gone into doing a lot more speaking at churches and family organizations because I speak about servant leadership. And because of the way I follow up, a couple people have reached out or started reaching out years ago and went, hey, could you come speak to my synagogue? Hey, we have a church thing. Hey, we've got this family organization. And at first I said no, but then it started happening. That all happened just because of the way that I reach out to people and they say servant leadership is at home as much as it is here. I never would have thought that from a business development perspective. And so it kind of pulled me that direction just because I was naturally following up with people about how can I help them.
Right, right. And that's what we do. It's how can we help you? It's
Yeah.
not about us. How can I help you succeed personally and in business? I want to be that girl to help you. I want to be that guy to help you. And so many people miss it, Kurt, because they're all there for them. They're worried about, the roof over their head and the leaving the lights on. And I get it. We work for a reason. But if we will just consider making them first, making them the hero, it'll come. It'll
Right.
come. We don't know where, when, or how, but it gets there. It all gets put in the bank sometime or another.
Yeah, one of the reasons I think that a lot of people fail at networking, and one of them is they approach it entirely self-serving, to your point. I think the other way is a lot of high performers and a lot of really good people, whether they're servant leaders or not, they want to network, but they feel like I have to kind of, I either have to do this for hours a day almost, and for my entire network, or I'm letting some people down. And I think the thing that people need to keep in mind is do for one what you wish you could do for all. I mean, I probably have 9,000 connections on LinkedIn. I do not keep up with all of them equally. Some of those people I've taken a company public with. Some we have multiple sales to private equity. Some of them I maybe shook their hand at a conference or they sent me a connection request. I'm not going to treat all of those people the exact same. And so by having a system like a personal CRM, it allows you to categorize those people for the level of relationship you have, which might shift over time, and then help them when you want to. And so I find so many people that like I see these executives. I'm in this roundtable of like 80 senior executives for mid-market companies. And the reason I like originally wrote this article on what is a personal CRM is after dozens of them, I've kind of explained it on things. These are super high performers where most of them kind of come back in when they're in between roles. And typically, if you're really good at your role as a senior executive, you help sell the company to private equity and they will replace between three and all of the C-suite and then often the level behind it. So here's super high performers that have done nothing with their network in the last 3 to 5 years. They're all great paid forward people, but they thought that, well, I didn't do it because I thought I had to follow up with everybody. I'm like, if you'd have just followed up with 3 to 5 people a week, you'd have been in a completely different place than you are. 3 to 5 people a month. And when I tell them that, the weight comes off of their shoulders and they're like, oh, you mean if I had like a system where I could just like, here's my close people and my next tiers, I was like, yeah, wouldn't it be so freeing? Would you actually do it? And now that I've worked a number of those people through it, I've them now over the last couple of years start to use a personal CRM so that they both feel like they can actually follow up with people without like having to treat with everybody because we do have different levels of relationship.
Right. Absolutely. Wow, Kurt, this has been absolutely perfect head on what people need to hear about a CRM because majority of people out there are not using it to its fullest extent and take advantage of it from it's not than just names and phone numbers for sure. Is there anything else, Kurt, that you want to say before we leave today?
I would just say I do have I got a kind of a definitive guide on using personal CRMs, but it's also how to think about it's different. We've touched a lot of it, but it's also only gotten better because people have asked questions and given me feedback. So if anybody has questions, they should look at that. And by all means, like if there's something not there, you have a question, I didn't include it. Let me know, and I'll cover it in another article.
Thank you so much, Kurt, for being here today. And I look forward to the next episode. So have a great day. Bye bye now.